I was in Norway last year, and so I was kind of feeling disappointed and let down. So I got my book and I was reading, and I got in this place that it said like those who look to him are radiant and will never be disappointed. That's my Portuguese version, because it's actually the Aramaic version. That's the original, and it says will never be disappointed. Like if you keep looking at him and just forget about the other stuff, you won't be disappointed. If you keep looking to the water, you'll never be able to walk on it. But if you look to him, to God, you will just, the natural thing for you, it will be walking to the water, into the water, just walking. It will be the supernatural. Your natural will be the supernatural, and you'll never be disappointed. Even though things won't go your way, better things will come. And yeah, just don't let your disappointments and your doubts to be above God's goodness, because this is a principle. We know that He's good all the time, and He has the best for you. And just don't let it take your spirit go down. Like don't let these things, the bad things, to take your joy away, because He's good all the time. And keep looking to Him and keep looking at His goodness, and you'll be fine.
Alright, so all of you know that the Son came to see the lame walk, to make the deaf hear, and the blind to see. But what does that look like in your real life? And what does that look like if it all happens in one morning? So just a few days ago, I was catching an early morning flight. And I have this confident expectation that good is coming. Some call that hope. So every day I think it's going to be the best day of my life. So even with this early morning, I knew it was going to be the best day of my life. And not just mine, but everyone I encounter, because when they encounter me, they get something extra. Anyway, we were at this airport, and I was with a friend of mine who spoke the local language. We saw two people in wheelchairs. Now, I want to clarify, they were just using wheelchairs at the airport. I don't think they were permanently in them. But we asked if we could pray for them. And after a little bit, they're like, well, why? And we said, well, you know what? We serve someone who doesn't like this, who will see people raised out of these wheelchairs, see this pain gone. And I'm like, well, okay, that sounds good. So we prayed for the first woman, and she's pretty old and a little confused, but she said that she was feeling a lot better. I'm like, that's amazing. And we went to her husband, and we asked if we could pray for him, and he said, he's looking at his wife, yes, of course you can. So we prayed for him, and we asked him how he was doing, and he said he couldn't tell unless he got up and walked. So we asked if he could get up and walk, and he said he'd try. So I held the wheelchair as he got up and used a cane to prop himself up, and he started kind of walking creakily along. And he looks back and he says, yeah, I feel better. He said, all the way better? He said, well, not yet. I said, that's okay. Sometimes our teacher prayed more than once. May we pray more than once? He said, sure. So we prayed again, and he said, I just felt the pain leave my knees. And he walks holding his cane up like this. And he walks and he looks back, and he's feeling a lot better. So we're pretty stoked. We meet the rest of our friends at the gate for the plane. Like, where have you been? We're like, you won't believe what just happened. And we're waiting to get on a bus that takes us to the plane. And while we're waiting in line, I noticed the gentleman behind me, an elderly man, he's got a hearing aid in. I'm like, well, deaf ears, come on. So we ask if we can pray for him, and he says yes, and he can't hear, and he's touching his ear, leaning forward. And at this point, we're on the bus. We've gotten on the bus, so we start praying for him. His left ear is completely deaf. His right ear is pretty minimal hearing. So we're praying. We pray a few times, and his left ear opens up, and his right ear gets dramatically better, so he can hear normal conversation. And this is happening in front of a crowd of people. They're watching, like, is this real? This man's beaming. He's crying. He's overwhelmed by the goodness of God just manifest in his life. And I look around, I'm like, come on, this is a great opportunity. So I start shouting out on this bus, who needs a miracle? Who needs healing right now? God's doing miracles, God's healing. And it's silent. And I say it again, who needs a miracle? And this guy from the back says, I do. And he walks forward and he's got something wrong with his eye. So there's a lot of pain and his vision's pretty reduced. Now at this point the bus has stopped and we're actually getting onto the plane. So we're going up stairs to the plane. So standing in the stairs, we just release a quick prayer over him, just releasing the goodness of God over his eye. Well, his pain goes away and his vision improves. So we saw the lame walk, the deaf hear, and the blind see, all in one morning waiting for a plane. Come on, he's a good, good father.
Hi, just want to tell you a great story about a lady I had the privilege of seeing at a service. She came up to me after the service and just, because we didn't have the ability to talk in the same language, she just picked up my hand and stuck it on her head. And she had quite a large lump, like a horn, growing out of her head. And she just went like this. And so I just released the presence on her and commanded it to just shrink. And I felt something going on initially, but then we did it again. And the next time we released the presence, I could just feel it going all squishy under my fingers, and it felt kind of really strange, and suddenly it just shrunk down when we laid hands again, and it went to the size of a pimple, and this was in just a few minutes. I grabbed her hand and put it back on her head, and I said, different, different, and she just burst into tears and fell to her knees. So yeah, it was awesome.